Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? Do you enjoy the first VidCon in Abu Dhabi ever? Yes, we do too. And we're glad to be on stage first because we're going to talk about a lot of interesting stuff. Also because we know each other for a while now and we like each other a lot. And so that's always a great thing to share stage with friends. But also because we're going to talk about multi-platform. And I just want to say we're going to talk about how to go multi-platform without losing your mind. So it's not both going to be about repurposing content and mental health for creators. And I think that I'm going to do a poor job at introducing the two speakers on stage because there's a lot to say. And so I'm going to trust you both on this by starting to introduce yourself, and then we'll show us like a quick videos, and then we can start.
Youri, you want to start?
Right, sure. Great to be here. Thank you so much, Hugo. Really great to be here. So my name is Youri. I'm heading our international efforts at Jellysmack. Yeah, really great to be here, and thank you for being with us here.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me. Youri, I mean, you're selling yourself short. You've done so much in your life. Youri's been in the creator economy for years, what, decades? 1 decade? Decades? Yeah. My name is Nasire, like yes sire, no sire. I make videos, and I make videos on multi-platform, on probably 5, 6 different platforms in 13 different languages. And so that's why I'm very happy to be here, because I think what you guys are trying to do is what every creator should be doing.
And without further ado, let's start by a video which is not going to start. So we have 42 minutes and 26 seconds together. We're gonna obviously hear the speakers on a few questions, and then at the end, for like 5-10 minutes, if some of you feel like asking a few questions, we'll pass the mics, so you also get to express something or to react on what we're saying, or just interrogate us on the things we're gonna say. And we're gonna start with you, Desire. Every creator in the world is originated from a platform first, and then they go multi-platform. For you, it's well known it was Facebook. Can you walk us a little bit through the story of how you actually started on Facebook and why that platform?
Yes. Okay. First of all, thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. I hope you enjoy. Let's have fun. So one of the unique things about Nas Daily is that it's not a YouTuber. And it's shocking how many people begin their journey on YouTube and they kind of like overlook a website in which half the world goes on every day for 25 times a day, which is Facebook. Right now, the biggest website in the world is Facebook/Instagram/WhatsApp. So when I started making videos, I said, I need to put my videos where my mother is. My mother went on Facebook 25 times a day, and she went on YouTube once a week. Therefore, it makes so much sense to become a Facebook creator, even if back then, there was no money in it. And so I started 1,000 videos in 1,000 days only on Facebook. And I actually made the decision to ask YouTube to take my videos down because I wanted to be Facebook exclusive. That's how much in love I was. I was in a relationship with the platform. And it worked out really well for me. And I think everybody should be on Facebook and YouTube.
What do you mean, like when you decide to ask YouTube to take the video down? Like you couldn't do it yourself, you had to ask the platform, be like, hey.
Yes. You know, look, I mean, you have to be a little bit crazy to like create content. And so I think it was a crazy thing to do, but I didn't want to be known as a YouTuber. I actually wanted to be known as a Facebooker. And that's why Nas Daily became one of the biggest Facebook creators on the platform. And that's how many opportunities were generated for us because of the platform of choice that we went on.
Okay, so over a few years, you actually grew on Facebook to 40 million, roughly like 40 million.
38 on Facebook.
38 on Facebook. I was just, that was the Moroccan of me, just like trying to like round it up. But essentially, 38 million followers on Facebook. When did you start in your journey to think about repurposing your content and going in different platforms? When does that happen?
That happens when you want to be a business. And then it becomes completely stupid to just be on one platform. So at the beginning of my journey, I was an artist, you know, super creative, into like blah, 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 principles, blah, 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 blah. But then I was like, hold on, like now I'm hiring editors, now I need to like save money, now I need to monetize this content that I'm dying for. Why am I giving up on $400,000, $500,000 a year from other platforms? It just makes no financial sense. And so that's when I made the decision to go on YouTube, go on Snapchat, go on Douyin.
Oh, you're on Douyin as well?
Of course I'm on Douyin, I'm on Bilibili. We're on WeChat, Weibo. I mean, we're on MX Takatak, we're trying, and I have a wonderful team in the studios that makes sure that we're everywhere.
Well, and so, if there is one person to talk about repurposing, because I don't know any creators who are like on that many platforms, to be frank. Even us, we are considering going to the platforms you're actually mentioning, but it's something that we're looking at, because we have to move strategically towards that. So, over your repurposing journey, what would you say were the most surprising or challenging things, in repurposing content? The things that you didn't know or didn't thought of, and actually was like, wow, that's actually tough.
Actually, one of the most challenging things is managing the community. Because you can make a very nice video today that is completely vanilla, but in Vietnam, it's completely offensive, and you'll have no idea. And I think just understanding cultural nuances has been very, very difficult. Like sometimes I wake up, oh my God, there's a controversy in Vietnam. Because for some reason they like Trump. Trump is very popular there, but he's very unpopular in let's say, the US audience. So, that has been very, very difficult for me. And also, when it comes to Taiwan, Douyin, China, this stuff gets complicated very fast. That's why I really think to truly become global, you need some sort of help, unless you're willing to build it yourself. You need some sort of help from an established authority, like Jellysmack, for example, to help you navigate through these.
Okay, that's way more complex than you ever think it is, right? Because normally you're on multiple platforms, but then you're on multiple culture, multiple languages, multiple everything. So the factors are just going up real quick. And I want to actually perfect segue to actually talking about Jellysmack with you, Youri. Actually, Jellysmack started as a creator. The story is sometimes known, sometimes not. Would love for you to actually unpack a little bit about the Jellysmack start.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for mentioning some of the things. We'll talk about that, how, the global piece and the local cultural piece, local language piece is so important for the success of creators. But I'll start here with just telling you a bit about how we started and, why we are here. We love to be at creator events because that's our DNA, that's how we started. We were creators ourselves, and we are still creators ourselves. And so we started by, launching our own channels, creating our own content in different verticals. So, beauty, football, basketball, gaming, and we become some of the top social communities out there, as you can see on the slide, with my Gold channel, Beauty Studio, etc. And as we were, working on our own content, developing our own channels, we realized all the kind of challenges that a creator goes through, whether you're in one platform, but then actually how to bring that to the mass platform basis, and how to work with global audiences as well, and all the processes that you actually need to be successful to monetize your content in an optimal way across platforms, building audiences. And so we developed our own tech, our own tools, first for ourselves, and then we developed it for starting to actually bring that to other creators out there, like Lucia as well, and others. And so we moved from a world of just having our own channels to a world where we started to expand our expertise based on our tech to a lot of creators out there, first in the US and then internationally. The US it's been since 2018, and internationally just been this year basically that we really started to really expand internationally across 15 markets. And the goal is really to bring all of that expertise and the tech that we have to, to really take the burden of creators, to make sure that they just focus on creating because that's what they love, that's what they want to do, and we take the burden on all the kind of ops and tech side to help them be as successful as possible. And I will talk about that.
Of course, just like, because maybe we have a few people in the audience that are creators. I just want to say, like, who's a creator in the audience right now? Okay, 5, 6. Who's working in the industry? Hey, industry people. Who's working in tech? Like for a startup or something, or a founder or something like that. Okay, cool. So we have a bit of a mix. So a few creators. So that was cool to recontextualize that. And so for those creators out there, can you walk us through the program that you built, the creator program, how it actually works, what are the steps, etc.?
Absolutely. So the first thing, what happens is obviously when we go to reach out to creators, or creators reach out to us, we actually, we have, so I'll take a step back, I'll walk you through our tech and the 3 key steps that we are focused on in the kind of creative lifecycle on the platform, how our tech helps that. I would segue in 3 things. First, content strategy, second, editing, which also encompasses testing, and the third is growth. So that's the 3 things, the 3 steps which are extremely important to be successful on different platforms. And we have our own tech and our own AI-based tool to tell us what is the best programming and content strategy for each audience on each platform. The same way we do it for testing and editing videos, what is the best way to edit videos and to present them to the right audience on the right platform. Again, having in mind, we need to maximize engagement, retention, and maximize your audiences. And the third part is growth. We grow from these platforms. How do we run also optimized growth and marketing campaigns to make sure that you have the best and most engaged audience out there on all your platforms. So that's kind of how we work, and I can detail that as well. So what happens in the creator program? How does it work? Is that one on this tech, the first one, which is what I talked about, editing. It's basically a tech that allows us to test creators again based on an AI tool, which says that creator, how successful that creator's content is going to be on this platform, or this platform, and that's how we vet first creators and bring them into the program, because our goal is, for sure, to manage expectation and make sure that we bring the right creators, and also that we build them the right audience that they expect on Facebook, on Snap, on all the platforms. So that's the first step of the creator program, is really that testing and vetting process. And then once we kind of the test results are positive and we build a creator, then you have all the steps that I mentioned, which we work on with both tech, manpower, but also our own fund, because we invest in marketing growth campaigns. So once we bring the creator in the creator program, we work on their programming and content strategy, we work on editing the videos in the right way, we work on growing and running the right campaigns, but also you mentioned one important thing about community management, how that's important for each language and culture, and that's also part of our process, is we have community managers who work on making sure to manage the pages and the channels in the right way, and that it's relevant for each audience on each platform and in each country, basically.
Can I just say something? The reason I'm on this panel is because, the reason I like Jellysmack is because I think you are a full-brain company. Here's what I mean by that. Most creatives only are good at the right brain, the right brain. Engineers are left-brained, right? You've been able to build creative capabilities, but also technology capabilities. That's why when you said raise your hand if you're in the industry of media, a lot of people raise their hands, but not many people raise their hand when you just talk about tech. Tech and media have always been very separate because you're right brain or left brain, but you've been able to bring both together, and I think that's what's really unique about your offering.
And I mean, first I'm going to steal that analogy, because I don't think we've ever done it, so well, that's a pitch for us. And in terms of, and I'll come back on what you just said after. I just want to know how does it work? If you're a creator, how does it work? How do you generate revenue? What's the business model? What's in it for creators when they sign with Jellysmack?
Absolutely. So The revenue obviously comes from advertising, right? On Facebook, on Snap, on YouTube, not on most platforms. And there's a rev share model where we share the revenue with the creator. And we are really depending again on the tech and the results of the testing, etc. We're really open to all creators. So obviously we have superstars like Lucille, but we also have creators with a couple of thousand subscribers, but we're extremely interesting, and we see that the testing results are really good. So we know that they are just rising stars, but they're going to be huge as well. So we really welcome everybody. And yes, the model then is a pure rev share model based on advertising revenue, basically. That we start and try to optimize with our tech on all platforms.
So you talked about like this sort of merging of tech and media, and that's not happening so much these days, but it's increasingly happening, and it has to. You've said a few times that it takes 40 hours to create a 1 minute long video. 14, yeah. Okay, so like my French accent, like sort of like, mixed it, but 14. And so essentially like how that time evolved around like along the years, and did you actually try to build technology to actually compress that time, to optimize it?
So, this is why I see the similarities between us, culturally and mission-wise and everything. It used to take 14 hours to make a 1 minute video. 5 hours to script, 5 hours to shoot, 5 hours to edit and manage the community and everything. Now I'm very lucky to have a team. Like Nas Studios is now 30 people, 35 people or so. Oh, there you are, they're right there. And so they help me sort of manage all these pages. But eventually, one of the tech we had to build, we saw the problem in languages. When I got to 10 million followers, I celebrated with 10 million people, except for my dad, because he doesn't speak English. So building localization software became very important for us. We used to have someone come in and literally copy-paste subtitles. Copy-paste, 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 and they would quit every week. Every week, someone comes in and they would leave the company. Either I'm a terrible CEO or the job is really bad. And that job generally should be done by computers. So that's why we built that kind of software. But we're definitely not trying to build software to figure out how to build a Facebook page. That's a really hard problem. How to take videos from landscape to vertical, that's a really hard problem. And I think that's the problems you guys are solving with your software.
And so like, to talk about that, Youri, because again, a lot of people think about Jellysmack and say like, oh yeah, like it's a lot of video editors, and then repurposing the content from one platform to the other. It's cool, I don't have to do it, they manage them, it's external, it's cool. So exactly like Nusara just explained, so on Jellysmack's side, where does the tech comes into play?
So the tech comes really into play, at each step of kind of the creator lifecycle on the platform, from the moment of the creation of the content, to editing it the right way, again, setting the right strategy, posting it at the right time on the right pages, the frequency of posting, and growing your audiences. The tech we built, we have a tech for each piece of that process to make sure each stage is optimized for each platform. And obviously, it's not a tech set in stone as like any AI tool. That's something we are all the time updating, upgrading, and we have a big tech team actually in Jellysmack who's working on that to make sure that we keep up also, with the changes that the platforms are doing in their algorithms, to make sure that we are still effective and we are optimizing every stage of that creative lifecycle. So you're talking about the hours that it took you before, to edit the content. That's one of our goals, to reduce that to a minimum with the tech, as you're saying.
And so I want to understand a little bit more about like the different formats that you are exploring at Jellysmack, that you also exploring in all. And then you'll probably be able to do like a 50-minute keynote on that. But right now it seems that there is a concentration of the shorts formats, and it goes towards like this 1 minute session. You're super famous for your actual 1 minute videos, so you were super early on that. Can you tell us about like how do you think about this format, how it evolved, and if actually you believe that most of the platforms, Snap, TikTok, Reels, Shorts, are gonna go to this format, and this format will be the king of all formats?
Yeah, so I'll be honest here, right? And this may not be good for Jellysmack or whatever we're building, right? But I do think what's happening is platforms are copying each other, so that there's become no difference between a TikTok video and a YouTube Shorts video. There's not even a difference in the UI. The user interface of a YouTube Shorts is almost identical to that of a TikTok. So I think now we make that 1 minute video in vertical, and that just goes in 4 different channels. Snapchat, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, and YouTube Shorts. And it's the same piece of content. So I think you'll see a lot more of that happening in the future.
I'd love just to roll on that because, one of the whole points to go multi-platform, and you're right, I mean, coming from YouTube, we, at the time already, were, I would say, copying or, reacting to something that was happening on other platforms and creating our own format, which was more or less the copy of the other ones. But I think what's important in the multi-platform strategy is that the audiences almost don't intersect. So even if you post your short, on YouTube and TikTok and Facebook Reels, it's going to be 3 different audiences. So you might generate, revenue from one, from the second, from the third of the same content, or repurposed and edited content. But the intersection is so small that it's really going to be mostly incremental audience and revenue. That's key. That's very important.
So you're saying not only do you upload the video on the platform, but you make sure that the content is good for the platform.
Exactly, because you're saying that the format is, I would say, okay, the format can be YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, the same. But based on our tech, we'll tell you, well, you know what you did for YouTube Shorts? We need to tweak this and this to work better in Facebook Reels, for example. And we'll make that edit and we'll tell you about that, yeah.
Got it.
And you have stats about you say the audience are not necessarily intersecting. What's the overlap in between Facebook and YouTube, for example?
I think Facebook and YouTube, it's around, depending on the different source, around 15%. Sometimes a little bit more, but that's kind of the intersection that we see. For other platforms, if you say Facebook and TikTok, as you can imagine, the intersection is very, I'd say very low because Facebook usually is older audiences, TikTok is very young. So as YouTube and Facebook is probably the platforms that have the higher intersection, around 15%, they have this much smaller. So as you see, it's all complementary audiences.
Okay, so 15% of the audience. So when you grow a Facebook page of a creator to 10 million people, it's 85% of those are just new people.
Exactly. That didn't actually, weren't engaged on YouTube or didn't watch YouTube. Maybe they want, at YouTube we used to say, we have a lot of monthly users, and I hope Tarek from the other session is not gonna kill me for telling that, but we used to say, there's a lot of monthly users, but the daily users are actually, it's a very small portion of that, right? So that people who come once a day on YouTube, or once a month, when I'm talking about intersection, it's really people who are engaged. So like you're saying, to your point, 85% of the audience will have on Facebook, it's people who usually are not engaged on YouTube at all. So they might come once, but it's really more a Facebook audience.
That's my mom. That's literally my mom. And all my extended family.
Especially that, and I think you can talk about that a lot, Facebook in some countries, in some geographies, like the United States or Europe, is getting to older population before the rest of the world. It's super hot for all population, young people included. And people are literally leaving money on the table and people on the table, audiences on the table, especially on the different geographies.
And just on that, just to give one stat, it's not just to throw a number out there, but to give a stat about how we grow the incremental revenue, for, a lot of YouTubers that we bring to Facebook, is that we see that nearly for 60% of our creators, we actually grew more than 250K of incremental revenue for them, in addition to what they were already making on YouTube by growing them on Facebook, which tells you about the huge, like you're saying, the money left on the table currently by a lot of YouTubers.
Yeah, and people forget that the internet in Egypt is Facebook. It's not Google, it's not TechCrunch, it's not Wall Street Journal. It's Facebook.com.
And so talking about Facebook and all the different platforms, you've probably seen things happening, for the past 6 months. They are competing on the same features, they have different audiences, but they're trying to bring new citizens to their digital states. And in order to actually do that, sometimes they also give money. And we've seen a lot of creator funds happening and popping up for the past 6 months. I would love to have your thoughts on that. Is it good, is it bad? Do you think that creators being now the sexy people of the internet world, you need to seduce them with some money and it's fine?
What do you think?
I knew you were going to throw that at me. Look, I think it's again, it's not the first time. I saw Tarek's session before about the 100 million fund now for YouTube Shorts, It's not the first time we're doing that, YouTube, not the first time YouTube was doing that. And so
Didn't you used to run YouTube?
Sorry?
Didn't you used to run YouTube?
I run YouTube in a couple of countries and regions in EMEA, yes, and it's not the first time that happens. It's a recurrent offer for a lot of new features and offers you're launching out there on the platform. So today it's Shorts, before it was other features that we're launching. We're always doing a fund, because initially what you want, you're doing an incentive obviously to bring creators on board and see if that works, and then figure out if that monetizes actually well. So I think today personally, I think it's a great thing, both from Facebook and YouTube, to do that, to bring creators on board, to try new things. I think the important thing is the long-term strategy for them. Are they going to figure out how to actually make sure to monetize it effectively, so that it's not just a one-time fund, but actually, if Nasir is doing 2 more YouTube Shorts and Facebook Reels, it's not just the incentives he gets today, but he knows it's a long-term business he can actually build on that format as well. I think that's the challenge for them, but I think the direction they're going to is good. So,
Yeah, I agree with that. So I'm very lucky to be around for 5 years. I started in April 8th, 2016. And I think the first year was basically nobody cares about giving you money. And then it was a shorts fund, it was a content fund at Facebook that gave me the belief that this is the future. So they gave me $2,500 guaranteed revenue for every long video that you make, 3 minutes and above, up to 4 videos per month. So that was $10,000 per month from Facebook, guaranteed. Just make the damn video. We'll give you the money even if you get 10 views. And that was like magic land for me. That was Disneyland. And so that's when I invested a lot more in the platform. And it's like training wheels. And now there's none of that fun for myself, but there is enough of revenue to make us walk on our own.
Because essentially, if you're a creator and if you're starting out, the predictability is just absolutely zero. You have no predictability, and you talked about that a lot, but changes in algorithm can basically, push you from 1 million views per day to almost zero. And that's what platforms are trying to solve for. I wanna go also on a distant topic, because in order to build predictability for a creator, you can also start to not only rely on advertising revenues and on views revenues. And I think that's you and us, we all share a belief that creators in general are leaving money on the table. Jellysmack does repurposing content in order to optimize that for creator, but you've tried and you're basically exploring another way with Nas Academy. I would love for you to unpack a little bit about especially the problem that you saw in that creator income dependence on platforms, and how you're actually trying to solve that specific problem with the company.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Do you know that song by, I think, Johnny Cash or something, My Empire of Dust? Creators build empires of dust. And the reason I say that is because in January 2020, I woke up with a head count of 30 people. COVID-19 came to Asia very fast, and all brands disappeared. Right? And the brands disappeared because they're scared of COVID. And in January, the brands were not spending money on advertising. So basically, I found myself in a dry month, but I had the same commitments. And that's when I realized this is an empire of dust, and you need to have good foundations. The best foundations is to have, first of all, to own some of your audience, right? So get their emails. Get 1% of your audience emails, get them off of Facebook and at least in an email list. Second of all is sell them digital products that have nothing to do with brands, that have nothing to do with Facebook algorithms. You love me whether I show up on your newsfeed or not. That's how a creator should think. And so that's why we started Nas Academy, to help creators monetize their knowledge, their education. And so that quickly became one of the biggest sources of revenue for Nas Daily, and advertising became a slower part of revenue for Nas Daily. So that's how I encourage people to think about it.
I think that's great. I think your story in general, starting with your journey on Facebook and everything you do, it's really, really an example for a lot of creators, because you were at at the top out there in terms of what to do before experimenting new things, before others do it. But I think, to rebound on that, I think, we all rely a lot on advertising on platforms, and Jellysmack, obviously, that's what we do a lot on different platforms. But we're also working, on developing new ways, the same way as you did, new ways of how we can, increase the monetization of creators, the non-advertising monetization as well. Working on ways as well, developing text internally to do that as well, because as you're saying, sometimes if you rely too much on that, you don't know what can happen, and there can also be a drops, and it happened on YouTube, it happened on Facebook, so we're really also working on that to make sure that, to optimize that.
Yeah, and just to end it, I was quoted saying earlier that some creators don't have a spine. Actually, some brands also don't have a spine. Brands are chickens. Let's be honest. The minute there's the slightest thing, right, that makes that brand uncomfortable, they'll be like, oh, I'd rather just work with a pretty girl on Instagram. Nothing wrong with that, right? So I think you should be also mindful of that as a creator, that brands love you today because you're clean, but the minute you make a small mistakes, they'll all run away. So you cannot rely too much on that as well.
I was about to say, and so essentially that's a perfect segue to talk about a topic that is close to my heart. Essentially, a friend in common that we have, like the CEO of Vibely, actually released some statistics about creator burnouts. We all know that creators are regularly burning out. We didn't necessarily know the magnitude of that phenomenon, and so literally the study showed that 90% of creators have burnt out in the past 3 years, which is to me astonishing. 70 of them have considered quitting social media altogether, and most of those people have cited the algorithm for responsible for that distress. And so obviously I understand that the creators have to think a bit more like founders, diversifying their revenue lines, etc. But what are the other things as a creator that you can start taking care of as to nurture your mental health? And more importantly, like how's been your journey around the topic since you started?
So, look, everything we're doing today is unnatural. There is nothing natural about having 1 million friends. Do you think my grandparents had 1 million friends? Do you think our ancestors, the cavemen, had 10 million followers? This is not natural. The human body, the human brain can only have 150 connections. That is natural. My tribe is 150 people. Therefore, I only have 3 enemies and 147 friends. But when you multiply that in the millions, all of a sudden you have 1 million detractors. And even if you have 10 million lovers, who cares? You have 1 million people who don't like you. So I definitely think that if I was Jellysmack, I would explore building mental health products for creators. That's $1 billion company. How to deal with challenges. That's number one. Number two, I would probably hide the analytics a little bit more for some creators. I mean, there's nothing worse than feeling like you're in a hamster wheel. It kills you. So you stop making videos today, in 1 week, your channel goes down by 70%. I mean, get out of here. I'm not gonna be doing this every day to maintain this. So platforms need to change, and I think we need to change as a society.
Yeah, well, that's really great comment, and I think first of all, the same Jellysmack needs to think about that. But I'm sure we're already thinking about that, how to address that and to help creators in that that space specifically. Obviously, taking the burden out on a lot of the stuff that takes their mind away from creation. That's already something we're doing, and that helps, I think, on that front. But when I remember when we started the creator program on YouTube 10 years ago, 12 years ago, creators wanted to do everything themselves because they didn't understand that they're going to burn out and that this is going to get to them. And I saw the switch in the past few years, as you've seen it as well, that creators were ready. There was a real mind shift, ready to give away some of the tasks because we can't do it anymore. And like any human being, you can't do everything. You outsource some of the things, and that's exactly why we are here to take that burden out. But I think the more general issue of mental health, we're also thinking about how we can help, in addition to that, creators, to manage it better.
Because you also help with editing now, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
That is a crazy endeavor.
Yep.
Good luck.
Well, we have a tech for that, as I mentioned. We have people and tech, but it's true that that's one of the key pieces that that creators are very happy not having to do by themselves.
And so yesterday there was an amazing YouTube party. I mean, obviously we were there and it was really cool. We had ours, like a Jellysmack, the day before that, which was amazing as well. And what was amazing, especially, was to see a lot of people, a lot of creators that thought that they maybe know each other online, have a talk once in a while, but that's like just to be there together, share the struggle, no cameras. And one of the things that I was surprised is that most of the creators during the party were absolutely not taking videos or anything. Like literally, I was one of the only ones taking videos, and I'm not a creator, so that says a lot. Like, can you talk a bit more about how important it is to have peers, to have friends that also go into the same struggle sometimes, or the same up, and if it's important for a creator to surround yourself with creators, not only obviously, but have creator friends.
Yeah, totally. You are the average of your 5 friends, right? That's take the 5 friends, average them out. That's you. So it is very lonely to be a creator, especially if you're a travel creator. Oh my God! Imagine being in Ethiopia by yourself with a video camera and trying to deal with algorithms and the local internet and the local attractions or politics or whatever. It's impossible. So I definitely think that in the future, community will be worth billions of dollars. Maybe technology now is worth billions of dollars, but in the next few years, community will have a dollar value associated with it. If you are part of a club in which there are 500 creators, I may be willing to give you $1,000 a month just to be part of that community. I don't care about the web page, I don't care about the tech. So I think that's another opportunity of building creator products.
100%, cannot agree more. I'm gonna see if we have some questions in the audience. I know we, talked about a lot of topics. Maybe your brain is still processing the topics, but if you do have questions, please raise your hand and we'll bring you a mic. There's one over there in the middle.
By the way, guys, we didn't disagree on anything today.
No, it's true. I mean, yeah, well, we can start disagreeing on things.
Yeah.
There's some controversial questions in it.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
There you go. Oh, yeah, you have to go to the. Okay, perfect.
Okay. So Nasser, in your last talk, you spoke about localization and languages and expanding into languages. Over here today, you were just talking about expanding into multiple networks. Is there a danger of expanding into multiple networks and into too many languages in each network, and then that being difficult to manage in terms of the community? I just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Look, I mean, I'll be honest, right? Ask yourself a very honest question. Do you want to hire 5, 6, 7 people on your payroll every month? If you derive enjoyment from hiring 7 people to manage that for you, then do it. Forget Jellysmack. But if you don't derive enjoyment from having 7 people working and doing the people problems and having that monthly commitment, then definitely do not do it. Definitely use Jellysmack. And so that's the short answer on it.
Yeah, and I'll just add, thank you for that. I'll just add that we have more than 500 people across the world, editors, content strategists, community managers, etc., that are going to do that work. So you tell us, I have a channel in Vietnam, but also in Thailand, but also in Korea, and we have people actually everywhere that are going to do that job. So you don't have to hire to do that job yourself.
On average, how many people inside Jellysmack are involved in one video from a creator, roughly?
Well, it all depends on the role, I would tell you, because and there's only that much an editor can do in a day. There's maybe a different, different amount of work a content strategist can do or a community manager. So it really depends on the role, but we try to maximize these resources, but also make sure that we have resources in all the countries and all languages dedicated to that. We don't want just an English speaker editor, obviously, to do editing in Vietnamese. That's not going to work. So we make sure that we have, that network of people all around the world who can do that work.
If there's another question on which we can disagree, then like will happily take it. And
that guy over there.
you have to go like professional stuff and everything. You have to go into the front. We should put like light in there.
Very insightful talk, thank you. My interest is in your creator program. I just wondered if, like, when you get your creators, do you own their content, or is it like theirs to keep when you're redistributing it?
No, so our deal with creators is obviously whatever you create. We have financial terms in all of our deals, which I'm not going to talk about here, but happy to talk in person about whatever those questions are. But in terms of the content, you own the content. So in the deal, we manage your Facebook page or YouTube channel or your TikTok page, but you still own the content overall.
Cool, thank you.
Another question, or in the meantime, when you think about it, no, I thought I saw one. Anyway, but what you're saying essentially is quite fascinating because creators now seem to have access to so many things that they can rent instead of owning, and I'm not talking about their audience. I'm talking about the fact that they don't have necessarily.
Hold on, we get a question there.
Oh, there you go.
Oh my God.
Little Nas.
Hello, hi. Thanks guys for being here. My name is Isa, and I just have a question because you guys mentioned very briefly about like how brands, if you're too controversial, they'll pull away from you and they'll go for a pretty girl on Instagram. So what are you guys doing? You didn't propose a solution to this, like because I feel like it's gonna get worse and worse. PC culture is gonna get worse and worse. So how do we, as creators, still express ourselves and talk about issues that we care about and not get scared about being cancelled?
I can answer that. Luckily, the algorithm doesn't cancel. It may be counterintuitive, but the algorithm does not care about your relationships, your sexuality, your gender. It doesn't care. It cares about engagement. So I say this all the time. On the internet, you are uncancelable. It is impossible for anybody to limit the distribution of Nas Daily in the Arab world. Impossible. I have very bad news and good news. That's the beauty of the internet. There are no more gatekeepers. You don't need the permission of the editor of the Egyptian newspaper to reach Egyptians. You can just say whatever the hell you want to say, and you can say it proudly and confidently. And that's the beauty of having different channels, is that the ad revenue will still exist. Now, there's extreme cases, of course, if you're a fake news, or if you're a murderer or a politician, then of course you cannot monetize on these algorithms. But pretty much you can talk about anything you want, and you can still generate revenue.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that's again in the importance of being on multiple platforms and having that content on multiple platforms, because we've seen, with some channels, mistakes sometimes done by algorithms or people on platforms which, demonetize the content. It takes them one day to remonetize it. Well, if you're just on that platform, you're losing all of your revenue. But if you're on 5 different platforms, that's just a piece of your revenue. And by the time that that platform remonetizes your content, you're not losing everything. You're losing just a small percentage of that.
Exactly.
Also,
By the way, we've had one of our platforms. I'm not going to say which one. Money disappeared for like 3 months. We were very lucky. That for us, that was a wake-up call. Quick! Gotta be multi-platform. I need that minimum revenue from ads every month to keep going, and so we quickly went multi-platform.
and also like when you're multi-platform, like you can also try different types of formats. So one of the things that I see regularly is YouTubers specifically, really nailing the YouTube algorithm about one format, and then being super scared trying new type of content, and so they get locked into this content prison, this content jail, where they know that if they step one foot outside of this niche, then the algorithm will just penalize them. And so they cannot explore any new type of content, they can only exploit their existing type of content. Where when you're going multi-platform, when you're going on Facebook and the format is 4 minutes long and you can try different things, then you can start building different content sort of like pillars. So if one of them get destroyed, you're not sitting on just one foot, you can just have more equilibrium. So I guess that's like a bit, and I will go exactly on what you just said. It's something that a lot of people are complaining about, but I think that people should be more celebrating the fact that there is no permission needed to put content out there. And maybe in 20 years when social media platforms will be a bit too crazy, if that happens, then we'll just do Web3 and we'll decentralize and we'll create like a...
Totally.
But that's in 20 years. For now, we still have a lot of time to celebrate the permissionless nature of YouTube, of Facebook, and all of those things. Exceptions, of course.
The way I think about it is like this. In the 1800s in America, you can go to Texas, shoot somebody in the face, commit murder, and still be a free man. Right? That's like the wild, wild west. And social media right now is the wild, wild west. I think in the next few years, it'll be a lot more censored. There'll be a big brother watching over you. There'll be content moderation left and right. So get ready for that world. We're definitely heading that direction, but now enjoy the Wild West.
And that's the perfect way to end up the session. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
To everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man.
And I just want to say, we are hosting Industry Drinks today at 5:30 on the 5th floor of the Aloft Hotel over there. And because there's a lot of industry people, you're all welcome. So yeah, see you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you tonight.